Spurs 1, Manchester United 0. Another abysmal performance by Manchester United as we slip to 15th in the Premier League table. It's getting really concerning. It really is. We've got 5 talking points to get into, guys. I'll give you a heads up. They're not good. Let's jump right into it. Thanks for tuning in. As always, guys, if you are new to the channel, please do hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button for us as well. It helps out the channel an awful lot. So let's get started. Number 1, Ruben Amorim. Look, we've been talking about how much of maybe a breath of fresh air Ruben Amorim has been in terms of how clear he is, in terms of how he wants to play, how he wants to set up this Manchester United team, and how he wants to bring this club forward in terms of standards and in terms of playing style. But the performances are not improving. They're just not improving, and I understand that this playing squad is not good enough, and that would be my number one, I suppose, come back to any real criticism of Ruben Amorim here. The squad is just not good enough. It really isn't. However, you would expect performances to be improved by now. He's had 20 games as Manchester United manager. He's in the job 4 months, and we haven't seen improvement. Now, I'm not saying here in any way, shape or form that he's not the man for the job. I genuinely do think he is. But he's got to do better. He's got to do better. He's got to get more out of this Manchester United squad, even though it isn't good enough to maybe play the way he wants to play. Look, I think the majority of things that he does and the majority of the way he sets up this Manchester United team is, right. And he does get the majority of things right. And he does make mistakes. He's a young coach. And we talk about players, for example, being young. They make mistakes when they're young. He's a young coach and he's still learning the game. He's 40 years of age. It's exceptionally young when it comes to being a manager and a head coach of the likes of a club like Manchester United. So he is going to make mistakes. However, you've got to learn from them mistakes and not repeat them. And I think that's something that Ruben Amorim needs to improve on. A big, I suppose, criticism that I would have on Amorim last night was in relation to Cheetah Obi Martin and the substitution he made. I just don't think it was good enough, to be quite honest with you. I don't think you can bring on a young player like that with pretty much 90 seconds to go. He didn't even touch the ball. Cheetah Obi now is going to always have the label above his head that his debut for Manchester United, he didn't even touch the ball. And I think it's a little bit unfair. I would have liked to see him got 15 or 20 minutes. I really would. And if you're not going to do that, just don't bring him on at all. Why bring him on with 90 seconds to go? I thought it was a little bit confusing by Ruben Amorim, I have to say. And I don't think it was, something that will benefit Obi Martin in the long run, and it was a bit of a baffling decision out of Ruben Amorim, I've got to say. And it's probably the biggest criticism I will put at him in, obviously his short time as a Manchester United manager. But look, again, I want to finish on a positive here talking about Amorim. I'm not saying he's not the man for the job. He is. He needs time. He needs to learn from his mistakes, and he needs to not repeat them. I think that's the major takeaway from this point. Number 2, we can't score. It's so bloody frustrating. We just cannot put the ball in the back of the net. We really can't. No matter what we try and do. And we said it at the start of the season that there's probably not going to be an awful lot of goals in this team and that more players are going to have to pitch in with goals. We've seen that Ahmad has now been ruled out for the remainder of the season. He has scored 42% of our goals this season. And when he's gone out of the side, where are the goals going to come from? Rasmus Højlund, for example. We speak about Rasmus Højlund and he's having a terrible, terrible, terrible season. And, I've always said that I will back players, and I think players should get a minimum of 2 seasons. He's not doing it. Now, he scored, 15 or 16 goals in his first season, and he's completely dropped off this season. He's not scoring goals. He's not been good enough. He looks void of confidence. He looks void of, real I don't know what it is. He just doesn't look like he's going to score. Now, I do think parts of it are down to the fact that he's not playing his game correctly. We seen a very direct ball early in the game last night from Harry Maguire, and Rasmus Højlund was playing off the shoulder of the last defender and he got in behind him. We had a really good opportunity. That's his game. His game is getting in off the shoulder of the defender, getting in one-on-one, using his pace and his power, because he has them attributes. His game is not trying to hold the ball up and not trying to, pin fullbacks or pin centre-backs, and hold the ball. That's not his game. His dual winning ratio is non-existent. He doesn't win. His first touch is not exceptional. His layoff and his link-up play is not really that good either. His game is getting in one-on-one. And we see, because he's not trying to do that enough, the times when he does get in one-on-one, he's snatching at chances. And he's maybe rushing them, or he's actually too slow at them. And the more he gets in one-on-one and the more he gets these opportunities, the better he will become at it. But if he doesn't do it, he's not going to improve. He needs to change his game. He really, really does. Now, the other one in terms of not scoring goals is Garnacho. Now, Garnacho last night could have easily had a hat-trick. You know what I mean? He really could. He's getting a lot of the opportunity. The majority of the opportunities over the last few games are falling to him. He's not putting them away. He hasn't scored in the league yet under Ruben Amorim. I think, has it been 18 games since he's last scored? It's just not good enough. Now, I understand, we're talking about, Rasmus Højlund, and we're talking about Garnacho. Garnacho's a young player as well, and he's got a lot to learn and he's got a lot to improve on. But you've got to be able to put the ball in the net. It's as simple as that. When it came to the first opportunity last night for Garnacho, it was his best. He's got to score that. He has got to score that opportunity. Look at the position he's in. He is there with the goal at his mercy. You go near post, you go far post. He's got the ball under control. The one thing I would say about him last night, when he got into good positions and he got in one-on-one, his first touch was exceptional last night. Absolutely exceptional. He's getting into the right areas. You've got to finish these chances. You've got to finish these chances. And if you do, we're talking about a completely different game last night to what we're talking about now. And maybe there's a lot less negativity and a lot more positivity. We've got to start putting them chances away. However, I don't think it's going to come between now and the end of the season. I don't see where all of a sudden these goals are going to start flowing in for us. And it's a big, big concern. Number 3, Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes is all over the place, in my opinion. He's all over the place. And I don't mean that in terms of, putting in shocking performances. He's putting in performances with no structure to it. There's no structure to his performance. He seems like the only player within the team that doesn't know what his role is. And what I mean by that is that he wanders way too much. And I've said this an awful lot about Bruno, in the past. And we go all the way back to the Erik ten Hag early days, where we said Bruno's going to have to change his game now, and he's got to be more structured about, playing in a system within a team. The likes of Erik ten Hag and Ruben Amorim are the types of managers that play very specifically in relation to setup, in relation to, shape, in relation to, the area of the pitch that you're to hold in and out of possession. And I think we've seen Bruno Fernandes' performances drop off because of that. We've seen under the likes of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and the small period under Ralf Rangnick, where Bruno got a free rein. He got the opportunity to, do what he wants. Free-flowing football, end-to-end stuff. United might be a lot open, and open to counter-attacks, and a lot more open and vulnerable on transition. But it meant that Bruno Fernandes could have the figures that he had in terms of goals and assists. When you bring that down and you play a lot more reserved and a lot more structured, Bruno Fernandes doesn't seem to do it. And we seen it last night, when he was dropping out onto that right-hand side. And I think a lot of the reason for that, we seen him drift out onto the right, was because of the lack of a natural right-sided player with Ahmad missing. And I think we've seen Bruno drop into that area. But what that did mean then was that this guy, Casemiro, was left completely at sea on his own in the middle of the park. And prime Rodri wouldn't have been able to cover the amount of ground that we're asking a 33, whatever age Casemiro is, to do it. He's not going to be able to cover that ground. And I felt sorry for Casemiro last night. He's got to play more structured. And whether Bruno Fernandes, whether these instructions, for Bruno Fernandes are coming from the manager, or it's Bruno doing it in game himself, It's got to change. It's got to change. If he's going to be playing in that number 6 role, which it looks like he's going to be doing an awful lot now, if Ugarte is going to be missing a few games, Collier is going to be missing a few games, Ahmad is out, Manu is out, he's going to be playing in that deeper role a lot more. And we've been talking about him playing in that deeper role. He's got to do it with more structure and more about what the team needs rather than what Bruno Fernandes individually can offer us. And I think we'll be a lot better if that is the case. Number 4, Dorgu. A good performance last night from Dorgu. It has to be said. I was quite impressed with him, and it's the first time we've seen him on that left-hand side. Obviously, he played 45 minutes against Leicester as a right wing back, and we were all crying out for Ruben Amorim to play him on the left so we could see what he was all about. And I thought it was a much more comfortable, assured performance by him last night. I thought he played well. He looked good. I thought his overlapping was really good. He was getting involved in play. I thought Garnacho could have passed it to him quite a bit more. Garnacho was using him as the kind of dummy run, and that's okay. I have no issue with that. It was kind of opening up a bit of space for Garnacho to cut in on his right-hand side, but he's got to mix it up a little bit. Dorgu was making some really good runs and getting into some good positions, and I thought on the back of that, when the ball did come to him, I thought he put in some very good crosses. There was one ball that he put in that he overhit and it went out for a goal kick, and we had somebody free on the back post. But outside of that, I thought his delivery was really, really good. I was impressed with him. He gives us that balance in the team that we need. A left footer playing at left wing back, and I think going forward now, I think he's probably going to shore up that left-hand side, in terms of really holding down that position. I don't see too much rotation in the wing-backs. We didn't have it before with Mazraoui and Delors both playing there, and I don't think now that we've got Dorgu there as a left-sided left wing back, I don't see much rotation. Defensively as well, I thought he was quite good. He looked assured. Kulusevski is not the easiest player to mark, and I thought Dorgu kept him relatively quiet last night. He showed him down the line an awful lot. He didn't let him turn in on his left foot. He was getting very tight to him and trying to cut out the crosses. So I think all in all, Dorgu's performance last night was a very competent one, and it's a kind of a foundation now for him to build going forward. We're going to need him to play well for the remainder of the season, because when you can't score a lot of goals up front, we've got to be really, really hard to score against. And again, I go back to it defensively. I don't think defensively we are terrible. I really don't. I think what happens is we get chances. We keep it tight at the back. We're getting chances up front. We're not putting them away. And eventually, enough chances fall for the opposition, they're going to score one. But yeah, in terms of Dorgu, good performance last night, needs to continue to build on it. And if he does, we've got a good left wing back on our hands. And number 5, league position. It's not good. It's not good. We dropped down to 15th. There we are in the league table. Everton jump ahead of us. Spurs jump ahead of us. It's not good. It's not good reading. The last time Manchester United were in this position with this amount of losses in a league campaign after 25 games, we got relegated back in the 70s. I don't think we'll get relegated, to be quite honest with you. I just don't see the gap between even Wolves, let alone Ipswich behind them. I don't see the gap being closed, to be quite honest with you. If we continue, we're averaging maybe a point a game under Ruben Amorim. If we get a point a game between now and the end of the season, we'll end up on 42 points. And they say 42 is a magic number when it comes to survival. I just don't see it. Look, it would mean Wolves and Ipswich would have to go, or Leicester, have to go on a major run of, 6, 7, 8 games of winning between now and the end of the season, and United, to lose the same amount of games. I don't see it happening to us, to be quite honest with you. The big issue with the league performance this season and where we inevitably finish up, we will be in the bottom half. I don't even think we'll get top half of the table. The big concern here is the financial, I suppose, aspect of it, because the lower down the table you finish, obviously the less prize money you get, and United are strapped for cash at the moment. They really are strapped for cash. And we're talking about FFP and PSR and not being able to buy players and having to be very, I suppose, money conscious when it comes to investing, the further down the table you finish. And there is big differences between finishing 15th and finishing 12th. You could be talking an extra 20, 30 million. These are the differences, So I think that's the major concern. We won't get relegated, but the league season is over for us. You know what I mean? Europe is gone. Top half of the table even is gone, in my opinion, at this stage. Unless all of a sudden everything clicks and we go off and score, bag loads of goals and start winning between now and the end of the season. But I just can't see it happening. It's going to be a very, very difficult end, final, 3-4 months for us. We've got maybe the Europa League and the FA Cup to desperately hang on to. But if we continue to play the way we're playing in terms of the league campaign, and that transfers into Europe and into the FA Cup, we're not going to be winning either of them either. So it is a concern. Financially, I want to see us move up that table. And that's the only reason, because we're not getting into Europe. The only way we're getting into the Champions League next year is if we win the Europa League, and that's a stretch. I mean, Spurs are still in the Europa League, and they beat us quite comfortably yesterday. So that's what we're dealing with here. So yeah, it's going to be a long few months. It really is. But let me know what you think, guys, in the comment section below. Do smash a like on the video if you haven't done so already. Do hit that subscribe button. Let me know your opinions in the comment section. As always, I'll see you on the next one, whenever that may be. Talk to you soon.